Tick tock, tick tock.
Of course, Dave decides to get up as soon as.
It looks all grown up, slant, kind of proud.
He turned pretty good.
I'd like to call to order the Green Lake Township Board of Trustees meeting on October 10th, 2023 at 5:30 PM. Judy, can you do a roll call, please?
Biondo.
Here.
West.
Here.
Kramer here. Biganowski.
Here.
Merrick.
Here.
McDonald.
Here.
And Radke.
Present. Before we proceed any further, if you have any smart devices, anything that makes noise, if you can put them on vibrate or mute,
That count Jeff's kids.
greatly appreciated.
That count Jeff's kids making noise.
I don't know. If that, please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions, changes, corrections, deletions, etc. to the agenda? I happen to have a couple that I would like to remove. The airport contracts, we were to have some information. The gentleman that was going to get us the information was unable to at this point due to an emergency surgery that he had to have. So I'd like to remove the airport contracts from this month to next month. And so we'll have additional information. Andy is following up on some of that information.
In the Parks and Rec, we'll be discussing that at Parks and Rec as well.
Yes.
If you want to take that off, I'll move
And,
Wait, there's more.
the Resort Class C licensure, Interlochen Center of the Arts, they made a request. They got some conflicting information, so they're having legal sorted out. So they made a request to remove it from the agenda, and they will make a request later on if they would like to proceed with that. So I'd like to remove those two items from our new business.
or
We got a
Second.
motion by Radke, supported by Vaganowski, to remove airport contracts and the Resort Class C licensure. Any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Now we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda, which contains minutes of September 12th, 2023, treasury report and bills. The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one board motion without discussion. Any member of the board, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such request will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval is approved by a single board action adopting the consent calendar. Is there any member of the board that would like to remove any item from the consent agenda? Any member of the public? Any member of the staff? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Merrick. Is there support? Kramer. Any discussion? Roll call.
McDonald.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Merrick.
Yes.
Biondo.
Yes.
Biganowski.
Yes.
Kramer, yes. And Radke.
Yes, motion carried. Next, it would be the reports. I see we have very, well, how can I put it?
Special occasion.
Yes, special occasion individual in the front row. Would you care to rise and state who you are? And if you have any updates, it'd be greatly appreciated. Distinguished individual, yes, please. Because you're going to be on YouTube. You're going to be famous.
Turn and face camera.
Good evening, Mike Shea, recently appointed Grand Traverse County Sheriff. I planned on, in public comment, just introducing myself so that you guys could put a name with a face and vice versa and say, if I can ever do anything for you, please don't hesitate to call. If you look up my phone number online, it goes directly to me. I'm available.
Yes, sir. Distinguished individual. That's what I meant to say.
I don't know
sir.
if I want to answer your raised hand or not, but go ahead.
All the bat phone numbers and all the old numbers that used to go to Wednesday, do they still ring to you or are they different?
They're all different. I honestly, I kept everything as under, I kept my same
Oh.
phone number, my same office. Everything is the same for me. His, on the other hand, some of it was transferred to Under Sheriff Randy Fulis, but most of it was changed as well, except his office.
You just didn't want to move.
That's
You
it.
just didn't want to pack up and move.
No.
Well-
Michelle? We call her first name, Michelle.
Yeah, yeah, she runs it. I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Congratulations. And I'm sure you'll represent the county very well.
Will do my best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And you're welcome anytime to stop by and give us an update of what's going on at the sheriff's department. We'd like to hear that.
Well, I gotta go back.
Getting your steps in, sir.
If you've been paying attention to the news at all, it's been a little bit crazy lately. So we will get through it. The water will calm. But yeah, that's probably not a bad idea that occasionally I come out and just update you guys on what's going on. We're having staffing shortages like everybody else. It goes like this, both in the jail and on the road. But we're working on some new plans to try and recruit, retain who we do have, but it's an ongoing battle.
I got one comment before and a member of the audience. I know we have our community police officer and they're stretched thin and they're being used more than what's typical just due to the circumstances and the rough waters that we're having. So I just want to, acknowledge that. I understand that, appreciate that. But it would behoove me that, we continue to strive to try to keep them local in that regards there. And I know he's on a specific, was it ERT? He's on that as well. He's unable to be here because I guess he was sent to Grayling or Gaylord.
There is a week-long training.
Yeah, so we've been extremely happy. There are some times where, we scratch our head and say, we have one. But he's out and about, that we do know. I just don't advertise when its days and hours are, just due to the fact surprises can be good.
Well, and I appreciate that attitude, and I will tell you all, having been a community police officer for 5.5 years, there's a lot that takes place that the residents don't really know. Like, we investigate a complaint in Green Lake Township. That doesn't mean that the bad guy or the witnesses that I have to talk to reside in Green Lake Township. So I might not be around because I have to go do follow-up elsewhere, right? And there's a variety of different things that could take place, but that is one of the components that I don't really think the citizens understand, that part of the community involvement and aspect of the community policing program is they do the investigation as much as possible, including the follow-up. And that may take you outside of the township. It might take you outside of the county.
Yes, and so I just wanted to let you know that I recognize that, acknowledge that fact. And it's nice to have the other street patrol deputies or the road patrol crews who here as well to make up that little shortfall, just to be seen. So it's greatly appreciated. With that, I believe we have a gentleman in the back row that has a question.
Well, I will tell you my personal opinion. I will not just put a warm body spot. So what we are looking at is the state has created a grant for sponsoring individuals. Our prior requirement was we needed a minimum of a 2-year degree, college degree, 4th grade. Under the sponsoring program, if we choose to sponsor you, we can circumvent that. We currently are sponsoring for the first time ever an individual in. And so that individual does not have college degree. But part of the county's program is they can get tuition reimbursement. So we will always encourage them to further their education. I don't want to speak too much farther in respect to going beyond that because I am from the believer in, we still have the same job. Just because we can't find qualified people doesn't change the job. As a matter of fact, the job is actually probably getting, let's say, more dangerous, but it's evolving and it's not getting easier. So I don't see where the logic would come in to lessen the standards to the point where we're just putting somebody in a uniform to either get hurt or get somebody else hurt. So at this point, I will tell you, we are doing the sponsoring program, which does allow us to get around the 2 years required.
I don't think any. I've had 9 years up there on the Reddit County funding, I've had 3 of this. Okay, this is the president. And I know that he's trying, I get it, I'm not, this, I would like to see a little bit.
And I respect that, and I would love more too, and I want more. Yeah, but I always use the number 466 square miles, give or take. That's what we have in Grand Traverse County. And you don't have to give it time, so that's. So I appreciate that, I agree with you completely. There's all kinds of data. Presence, deter. I'm empathetic. Anybody? Yes, sir. You call? Ready? 231-995-5015. Now we'll go right to my desk. If I don't answer, leave me a message. I will call you. Or 231-995-5015. So if Michelle hasn't updated on the website, it would be the undersheriff's too.
Very good, Sheriff. Thank you.
Thank you all.
You as well. Safe travels. Be safe out there. Okay, I see Chief Case. We have your written report, and is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
Take a moment and opportunity to do an official recognition. It's been I'll let Jeff describe it, but a painstaking labor of love for Jeff and do an official acknowledgement to the board that congratulate Mr. Paramedic Jeff Lenton for success. Did the acknowledgement last November of passing the program, but that's time in the seat and time of making the requirements of the program, and then there's an additional test beyond that, or 2 tests beyond that, which is a tough test, and Jeff can painstakingly give what that process is like. But I want to do a notification to you guys that Jeff has passed that bar. The tremendous time and dedication that it's taken to do that is known by him and not many others of what it takes to do that and accomplish that. So I can't congratulate Jeff enough at what it took to do that. So I wanted to make that notification to the board.
Shouldn't the other one be getting his 2 reason for 2 years now?
Still trying to.
It shouldn't be done. Wes, did you want to come out and shake his hand?
You boys.
Other than that, and we also, closed out, our last standby for the season. We did go out and do, the Ironman, standby for Benzie County. And we actually did a transport out there during that event too, and they've already given us notification that they'd like to have us back next year. So, other than that, it's, Halloween party is coming up. So we will have, the Halloween party this year at the new station. So we're working on plans for that right now. And we delayed the emergency services days at times. It was supposed to be Saturday, and with the weather coming in, 40 degrees and rain didn't sound like a good day. So we're gonna pick that back up and do that in, March during EMS week. So there'll be more to come on that. That's what I have.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Chief. Be
Thank
safe
you.
out and about.
Thank you.
Congratulations again, Paramedic Clinton. Job well done. Next item. Oh, I missed declaration of conflict of interest. My apologies. Is there any declaration of conflict of interest on any item on our agenda? Noting none. We'll skip that. Public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to make statements to the board. I would ask that you rise, go to the podium, state your name, address of residence, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there any member of the public that wishes to do so?
Good evening. My name is Donna Ross. My address is 8790 Treswood Trail, Traverse City, 49685. These are all good things I have to say tonight. My first is a thank you to Mr. Radke for replying to my emails, meeting with me on various occasions regarding the concerns we have with Rogers and Treswood Trail. Very much appreciated. My second is a thank you to Johnson's Outdoors for providing the upkeep on those roads. And we look forward to having them again coming out to do what we talked about, the grading and with the upcoming snow. And lastly, I hope that this can be taken into consideration by the board. With road care costs increasing as they are, can they, the township, go ahead and increase our STA, the 9.9, to help with these costs and to bank extra funds for proper repair to Roger Road and South Long Lake approach? And that's all I have.
So noted. Does everybody understand her request?
No, I don't.
We can increase special assessment districts not by 10%. So we can go 9.9% annually to increase their SAD district to keep up with the cost of living. As we all know, our cost of living and cost of goods and services have increased greater than that. But what has been requested is if at this next budget year that we come into, that we propose an increase of 9.9% to bring that in. I've been trying to work with the road commission to get that intersection. They're supposed to do work along a couple of those intersections, and it's been put off and put off.
Are you talking the intersection up here on Silver Lake or?
On Long Lake and Rogers Road.
Okay, I thought that was supposed to have been taken care of, so I was surprised. It's
Yeah,
not.
well, we're in a process. First, we had to establish where is the road. And
And that's kind of where we are right now.
we had to find the culvert, which we used in-house, because they did it. So we were able to locate that. So talked with Johnson, Mr. Johnson today. Yes, today. Again, to reaffirm the delineation of the right of ways of Long Lake and Rogers Road, and to make grading improvements and add material at that particular intersection before that 4-letter word comes.
Correct.
Did I present it correctly? Did I present that correctly?
Yes.
To the understanding, very good. Good. Thank you. Any other member? Yes, sir.
In Michigan. I've had a chance to review your nuisance ordinance. I would like Green Lake Township to realize that they are not a homeowners association. If a homeowners association would like to take up some of these rules, that's great. I'm not interested. They're quite atrocious. They're very, constitutionally ugly. I would like to know if there's also any way we can have a public hearing on this to be able to explain this to some of the residents that aren't quite paying attention. We're trying to justify people's jobs or what's going on, but I'm not interested. And the public's not allowed on all of my 50 acres, so I'm not quite sure why it would cause any safety hazard or anything of the sort due to the fact that they're not allowed on there. It's private property. So if you live in a cul-de-sac and you like these things, then strike up a homeowners association and make the rules happen. Otherwise, I'm not interested. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Scott Richards, 11802 Fred Meyer, Interlochen. I'd like to second what Greg said, and I want to share this with you. This is what I did at the county commissioners meeting on Wednesday.
Show us something. Is that a toilet?
This is a device. It's about this big. It's in David's bedroom. David has a pacemaker. So there's only a positive, negative. And when he goes in the bedroom, that reads his pacemaker, his heart per minute, heartbeat per minute. It dropped down to 35 one night. So David was called in to the doctor, and the doctor said, and doctor wanted to check him out because 35 beats per minute doesn't do. So he went in to see his doctor. The doctor punched in his code for his pacemaker. If the doctor, and then he asked the doctor, how do you know about this? The doctor explained to him, there are signals put out by that machine to satellites. The satellites go to Minneapolis, Minnesota, and then they get shipped to his doctor here in Munson. The only reason I'm saying this, if they have the technology to read somebody's heart rate that's not hooked up to a machine, I just bring it up because this voting machine. If these voting machines are so perfect, why isn't Danette D'Souza in jail for bringing it up, or Mike Lindell in jail for bringing it up? Okay, and I do want to second what Greg said. Out of luck.
Thank you. Any other member of the public would like to comment? Seeing none, hearing none, we're going to move on to postpone business of none of which I'm aware of. Is there anybody else that's aware of it? Hearing none. New business. We have Tom here to answer any questions that we have for Blue Cross Blue Shield. Tom, if you could come to the podium, state your name and who you are, or who you represent. I'll let the board loose on you. I mean, we'll have the board ask you some questions.
Tom Armitage with Burns Fire Insurance Group. We provided, as far as I believe everyone has their packet, with the Blue Cross information, the increase is estimated at about 3.95%, which is a very reasonable increase. Some cases we're seeing double-digit increases again. Yours, I wanted to make sure that you notice the changes as far as the one sheet goes over those as far as the maximum out of pocket. Those will be changing at your renewal time, and also your prescription drug.
Okay, I believe everybody's had the information for at least a month or so. Is there any questions from the board to Tom? I think Sherry did bring up a question regarding Medicare 65 and
It's about, what
If
page
you
was
look
it?
at the first grade, Sherry, as far as the age bands, that's if you had an active employee who's over 65 or above. Blue Cross would be primary on that individual. And the second rate is a supplemental. That would be as far as if you had less than 20 employees, then Medicare would be primary.
Say that all again. Because the minute you hit Blue Cross, the minute you hit Medicare, and if you go on Medicare, you have to take, you only can have a secondary. You can't have the
As far as,
primary.
as far as an individual, when you have an HSA plan, if the individual enrolls in Medicare,
Right.
then they would have to stop the contributions as far as the HSA, because they're no longer eligible.
Right.
So with Medicare, they have the option as far as putting it off if they're not going to draw their Social Security, so they could continue to have the township insurance, and that would be primary.
Okay, that's all that is. That wasn't that. Okay.
very good, thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Merrick?
So the enrollment period is when?
November 1st through November 30th.
And if something happens, a life event after that, marriage, death, birth of a baby, domestic partnership, what have you, you can do it anytime?
Loss of coverage.
And what is required for the domestic partnership?
As far as the group would have to set up as far as a domestic partner rider.
So would that be if I'm engaged, she moves into the house, would that be a domestic partnership or does that not match the meaning of that?
The domestic partner would have to be an additional rider that the township enrolled in. And there's specific requirements as far as a domestic partner, you have to show proof of residency for a year, things like that, as far as their specific requirements.
So it's a 12-month.
So just say I do and put a ring on the finger.
Leap day.
Much easier as far as.
Paul, do you have anything?
No. The increase was the $2,000 from 1,400 deductible, or no, was it always 2,000?
Yeah, it was
Yes.
last year too.
The maximum out of pocket. So you can still have medical procedures done. Once you've met the deductible, we covered 100%. The maximum out of pocket is going to come into play as far as on the prescription drugs, because those are what are moving you up to the maximum out of pocket. Those are the only things that are going to hit the maximum out of pocket. You're still going to have 100% medical. If you have one surgery, you meet that deductible, you can still have additional surgeries.
Very good. Judy, you have anything? Dave? Pat? Andy asked, I don't. Well, thank you for your trip up. Enjoy the weather.
Appreciate your business. too.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for continuing. Very knowledgeable.
Yes, valuable resource in that regards. So at this point in time, we can take action in regards to the presentation. If everybody's questions have been answered, what is your flavor?
I'll make a motion that we leave Shield policy as presented.
Support.
We have a motion by Kramer, supported by Merrick, to approve the renewal of the Blue Cross Blue Shield policy. Any discussion? I would like to have a roll call, please.
Kramer, yes. Biganowski.
Yes.
Biondo.
Yes.
West.
Yes.
Merrick.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
And Radke.
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. The next item under new business would be the agreement for election services. Judy, would you take the lead on this, please?
This is a contract that the state of Michigan Bureau of Elections drafted up for townships who are going to partner with other townships to be early voting precincts. And so this on our particular contract, it's between Green Lake Township, Grant Township, Charter Township of Long Lake, and Mayfield Township. So on the contract, you'll see it shows the name of the municipality, the number of precincts that we will be offering voting to and the number of registered voters. It just kind of goes through and it defines the agreement that the four of us clerks have agreed upon when holding our early voting precincts at our location. The board, if you remember correctly, the board did approve last month where we will be charging each township $5,000 each election that we hold for them. And that will kind of offset kind of the cost that we have to pursue with at our township. The early voting will begin at the February or March election. The date has not been set yet. And we'll continue on until we get a 90-day notice from any of the townships to not continue with it.
We can also cancel, correct?
We can,
Okay.
yep.
You said March or something. Didn't I read somewhere August 24 is when it comes into play?
That was the original,
Where did I see that?
the original date. They have now moved it up to they want to start it with the February election so that we can kind of do it when there's a smaller election instead of the bigger election.
Any federal or state election requires the early 9
Early
days.
90.
Right, and that's why I read the August. On those motions we made last month, and none of those had the date of the 24th of August versus February, or did
It
they?
just had, no, it just has early voting. Doesn't have any specific date. We
Specific
don't
date.
know the date yet. The
Okay,
election dates have not been set.
okay.
This is the final agreement.
This is the final
Absolutely.
agreement that will be between the clerks. It's goes a little bit further into detail than what we presented at the meeting last month. You know, it informs the board and all of us that, you know, Pam and I will be the ones who will be the conductors of the election. We will be the only ones that will be in the QVF qualified voter file for those 9 days. You know, each township will be providing one worker each day of the election, so that, and then they will be paying their own workers. We will not be paying their workers. So that it's going to their books.
So for that whole period, you have a couple machines set up in a designated area that's kind of cordoned off for the whole period?
We have to have it set up just like an election. We have to have at least three workers. So we'll have three, we'll probably have four because we've got that many.
What's the plan? It has to stay open.
Have to stay open for 8 hours, so we will be open from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. every day for those 9 days.
This facility or
No, we're
something?
actually gonna be up at the township, and we're going to be using the old bays, where the engine and the.
You can stay set up the whole time.
Mhm.
People are gonna drive here. Does this also include dropping off people? Or mail-in ballots?
Let's go back to what you just was bringing up. It's going to be set up the whole time frame. How is it going to be secured in the bays? How are we
It'll
going
be
to?
locked up, and then
The bays will be locked up,
We have
or?
no, everything will be removed. The only thing that will stay in the voting area will be the chairs and the voting booths.
So every night you'll
Every night-
pack it all up?
Every night they have, towel it, and then we put, security cameras and locks in the old bedrooms in, where the guys were, you know, what was the fire station before. And so everything will be locked up either in those camera rooms or in our office.
Okay.
So everything will be under camera.
Okay, because we all have keys over there.
Yep,
Yeah.
Not to those doors.
yeah.
Well, no, not, that's what I wanted
Yeah.
to know.
But I want to clarify that no one but the clerk has keys to those rooms.
No.
Okay.
And we put new locks on there, and like I said, each of the rooms has new cameras in it.
Okay.
In a secured area.
Yeah. So with that, any other discussion on the agreement for election services? If not, I would entertain a motion for action on said.
I'll make a motion that we enter into the agreements with Grant, the Charter Township along Lake, and Mayfield Township, and authorize the clerk to sign the agreement.
Second,
We got a motion by Merrick, supported by West. Any discussion? Pat?
Question on budget cost sharing. Talks about fees based on number of voters. Is that in addition to the $5,000
No, we all agreed that everybody would contribute the 5,000 and then that will cover all of the costs that are needed for each township. And helps offset us for using, because we're the ones that have to buy the tabulator and the express votes. They'll be using our, all of our supplies and stuff. So $5,000 will cover it. And we'll have a little left.
Will our people that work it be paid from a different fund?
I'm waiting to hear back. We just went through audit last week, and Trent is getting back with me if in the past, our auditor and accountant has asked us to pay through accounts payable. I think they now will probably be paid through payroll because of the amount of hours that they will be working. So, but it'll be, in payroll, it'll be set up as a separate election worker account.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Mayfield doesn't have a clerk anymore, do they?
They're going to be, I think their meeting is tomorrow night.
Yes.
And they're going to be appointing the deputy clerk. And then, Grant Township just because their clerk is done too. And so Grant Township just appointed their deputy clerk to move up to the clerk position. That was another reason why Pam and I, extended this little branch because, we knew that Grant and Mayfield were going to have new, clerks that were not, they have no experience in elections, but they also don't have the workers and have the money to be in the location to be able to do the early voting. Long Lake just happened to pop in at the last minute. They're just not sure how many voters are going to be interested in doing early voting before they go out and spend a bunch of money to get, location and equipment. So
Well, that's my question. Is there any requirements in that new statute of how to Mayfield and Grant tell their citizens that they gotta come here?
they have to send, everybody who's going to be voting, early voting here, their clerks have to send a postcard to each registered voter and let them know that they will be doing early voting here, with the dates, the times, and et cetera.
Date,
Do you know
time.
how many days early they have to send that? Was there?
45 days. Yeah. And then we have to, on our end, we just have to post, I've got to do a posting in the paper and a posting on our website and posting at our offices 45 days in advance that we will be the early voting precinct and who will all be included in that early.
It's gonna
And
be
we
an
did
interesting
apply-
year.
We did apply as a county. The state of Michigan is going to be releasing some funds to kind of help us with equipment and supplies that we're going to need. Grand Traverse County did submit their grant request, and so now we're just kind of waiting to hear. I don't know when they're going to start awarding these grants to the different townships and different.
Somebody's phone on the table is no longer going off.
I thought it was my heart. I'm sorry.
That would mean you had one, Marv.
Oh, yeah.
So hopefully we will get some state funding to kind of help us offset the cost of our having to purchase the equipment and stuff too.
Any other questions? Roll call it, please.
Merrick,
Yes.
Biondo,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Biganowski.
Yes.
Kramer, yes. West
Yes.
and Radke.
Yes. Motion carries. Good luck,
Thank you.
Judy. With that being said, that concludes new business. Next item is discussion. I believe Mr. Merrick has something to discuss.
I have lots to discuss, but specifically, as many of you know, the opioid pandemic has hit this area where there's a lot of folks in the area that are having issues of opioids. And there's a opportunity for us to get through Harm Reduction Michigan, a free box, kind of looks like a newspaper box with Narcan in there, as well as some educational materials about how you can get treatment, what can be done. And all we have to do is provide a location if we were interested as board. I brought this forward as a discussion point because I found out about it relatively recently. Didn't have time to get it out to the board in advance of much information. I'd hate to think that we had this opportunity at no cost to the township or the taxpayers to provide a resource that could save somebody's life and not take that action. If the board decided to do that tonight and allow that, I'd love to move forward with it, get that here in our township for our residents and the guests to the area. We're not at the station 24 hours a day because we go out on calls. So if someone came racing into the township station with somebody having an issue and no one was there to help them, and this box was nearby, it would potentially save a life.
Now, did you converse with any staff of our emergency services, and if so, whom?
Well, I'm emergency service staff. I spoke with myself.
Do that quite a bit.
I do, and sometimes I'm not right. So I turned to people who are much wiser than myself and spoke to both Captain Fack and Chief Case, who both said that they believe that that would be a good, or they would support the township having this available to our residents. And Chief Case is here if you have any questions that I can't answer because he's much wiser than I.
This box, so-called box, is just open free to the public, like a pop machine is what they're using in New York. It could go on the outside of the fire station, right?
It could be placed on township property outside of a building, correct? The fire station, by the drop box, by the mailbox, by the township office. There's a lot of opportunity.
Well, something that would be, that we would publicize so that everybody would know. Yeah, that would be.
Absolutely.
I read the newspaper. You know, put a quarter in or?
Nope.
No.
If you wanted to deposit a quarter when you take one, you could, and that would help offset our expense of the little bit of cement we have.
Funding this.
It's through Harm Reduction Michigan. It's a 501c3 whose mission is to help with reduction of people receiving harm through the drug use.
There's done a few weeks ago. It's out promoting that we need to discuss this drug problem in our area. Is she part of that?
I could not tell you if she was or not. This has been around for a while. East Bay Township just got one put out recently. The closest one to us is either at Ben's Area Christian Neighbors in Benzonia or East Bay Township.
That information is about halfway down in the fourth paragraph.
Yes. Well, I read through that briefly, even though we
I
just got
did.
it tonight. I'll say that I'm very supportive. If the chief thinks it's all right somewhere around, I think it's a big issue. And as responsive as we are and as good as we are, it's still another opportunity for somebody to save somebody's life.
Yeah. Chief Case, can you confirm or make a statement, please? Hate to put you on the spot, but.
Yeah, that brings me in, Marv and Judy. So we also have a Narcan or naloxone leave behind program for EMS in the state of Michigan. So if we come across somebody in the public or on a response that has an issue, we actually have Narcan in the ambulances to leave with them. It's a program that we have and we restock through the hospital. But in these cases where we don't have direct involvement at the scene with them, this gives them a safe place to go and get that for the community. And again, we could draw people, that they knew it was here from outside of our area also, and the number of visitors. So I think it's well worth, again, we're not out the money and the restocking and stuff like that. So I don't see any negative behind it.
So how do people typically use this? They go to this thing, take one, and take it home, put it in their cupboard in case they need it? Or are they like an emergency, I need to give it to myself right now, and they do it in front of the box?
They could do it there. Most of the time, our leave behind program is designed for family members, or somebody that knows of a person that has a problem, and that's why we would leave it behind if we ran an overdose at that location. And, there's any likelihood that it could reoccur, then we would leave that with them for them to use.
You didn't answer my question. So.
Well, they
Is
could.
it okay if they just come in and
Sure.
help themselves to
Sure.
a dozen and go home?
That's actually how the law in Michigan is written, is that if it was the first time in legislation ever that you could go to a pharmacist. So a pharmacist or a physician can give you a script to go pick it up and purchase Narcan in the state of Michigan. And it's the first time ever that you can go get a prescription for a drug that isn't meant for you, because it's really not intended for you. It's intended for you coming across somebody or having a family member that has an overdose situation. So most certainly they could use that if you know, design is they knew somebody that had an opioid problem and there was a likelihood that they could overdose.
They could stop by,
they'd
take
get
a
it.
dozen and walk off and be okay.
Yeah, they're gonna restock it at no fee to us and
Oh, so some kid grabs 4 and jabs himself 4 times. Is it dangerous?
no.
This
I
is
mean-
nasal. They're not gonna hope they're not
Yeah.
jabbing themselves with nasal.
That
like
was
what
my
the cops
question.
use. Oh, yeah.
Is there any side effect or anything with this particular drug? I
In
know
the
it's
short
free
term,
use.
no. I mean, if they need it because they're unresponsive, then no. It affects their central nervous system and it's a blocking drug. It blocks the effects of the narcotic in their system. So it's basically a light switch to them. It shuts that off for that amount of time that the drug's within their system and allows their central nervous system and their breathing specifically to come back and then to start breathing again. Could it have long-term? If they had a true opioid addiction and have some long-term use, then yeah, they're gonna feel the effects of withdrawal. So, you know, people that are prescribed opioids for pain management, they're gonna be in pain because it's gonna block the effects of that drug. But the goal is to get them breathing again and get their mental status back. And then again, long-term therapy is to get them help with their addiction problem. So in the short term, no, it doesn't have negative consequences. So it's a good thing.
So if someone who wasn't on opioids used the Narcan just to see what it did,
Doesn't have
there's
any
no
effect.
effect on them at
It's
all.
basically a
for the most
placebo
part.
to anybody that doesn't have a narcotic in their system, doesn't have effects on their heart or anything else.
So with this being said, Chief Case, there's been obviously conversations from both sides that if we provide it, we're promoting. What is your statement in that position?
Yeah, that's been one side of the aisle has talked about that you're encouraging a poor behavior. People that have an addiction issue have no thought process about that. They're not using more just because they know somebody in the house has Narcan or somebody could save them. Addiction is way beyond that and short-term stuff. So there's no data that has said we see an increase in use of opioids because we have a safety net in place. It just doesn't work like that.
Very good. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Andy, for bringing it forward. And we've seen it there at East Bay when we was there for meet with the drain committee. With the MTA, yeah. Yeah.
I'd like
So,
to make a motion that authorizes Andy to move forward with getting this set up.
Second.
we have a motion by Kramer, supported by McDonald, to authorize Andy Merrick to proceed with acquiring and placing of the Narcan unit. Any other discussion? All in favor?
We'd be under our cameras.
Yes.
Probably, I'm kind of thinking maybe by the ballot box area up in there.
That's how the other ones are located, next to the ballot box and tax collection box, the big mailboxes. So yes.
Someplace under camera.
Any other questions? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. With that being said, any other discussion?
The only other discussion, Dave.
He raised his hand.
3 things. Mrs. Ross talked about upping the special assessment of those folks. We have to wait for an anniversary for that if we do it midstream anytime we want.
We have to do it
We need that.
at the budget, yes, because it's got to be a resolution. By form of a resolution and truth and taxation hearing and
Well, and Andy's gonna have to have time to put on the tax bill, so
Yeah.
it's coming up in, when do you do, December 1st? Tax bill,
Bills go up December 1st. We set the roll mid-November.
so we have to get on that. You know,
If it's gonna be done this year, yes.
I don't know that we, actually, I think since it's under 10%, I don't think we need a resolution, we just need a budget, I think. But I can't,
Well, that's what we asked our previous representative, legal representative, and we needed a resolution, and what else was it? I
Public
don't want-
hearing.
Yeah. and
So we should check with
And I
legal.
don't
We
on
want
that.
to know.
it's if you go above.
I
So-
would probably check with,
I'll check with, Mr. Wendling.
and maybe check with the auditor. I don't know if we have to do that at budget time or if we can amend the budget.
We can, I mean, we need to make an amendment at the next meeting so that he could, so that you could make the adjustments to what the bills going on are gonna.
Yeah, because it was stated.
Because just once a year, they're paid.
Yeah, we stated that we had to do something with the truth in taxation and spreading the rule or adopting.
I think it's relatively,
Straightforward on that?
yes, under 10%.
Okay, so I'll double check and not pay heed to the previous.
Well, I mean, yeah, you do your
Recommendation.
due diligence on that, but I mean, I do think that we have to expedite it because you're not gonna wanna send out separate bills for it in February, because it's probably gonna cost as much as, and people aren't gonna like it, so. I mean, they're gonna like it either way, but.
They'll like it less. They get a second tax bill.
So the other one was, we picked a date when we're pulling the pickleball nets. The controversial.
No, we haven't picked a date yet because when we get snow, we'll pull.
Does that fitness court have any winterizing or it stays the same way all the time?
Got to pull the water out of it.
Stays the same way all
Just
the
blow the
time.
water.
Stays the same all year round.
Yep.
Nothing we have to.
Why don't we
That's
just,
it.
why don't we just plow the pickleball courts?
Probably wouldn't take.
They're yelling and screaming because a dog walked on it with nail. Now imagine if we decide to plow it.
You go ahead and plow it. You'll be the one.
Blow.
Take a blow problem.
We keep it available all winter long.
People have played on them in the winter. Yeah.
And the ice would be.
Big issue.
So, yeah, we're gonna try to keep them up as long as possible because that keeps people in their car. And in that respect, we've had people ride their bikes from Cedar Hedge Lake to ask questions about the water level, the stream water level, and give us kudos for the sculptures. And also, they say, oh, by the way, we're gonna go down and play pickleball at your new courts. They're gorgeous, they're fantastic, fabulous. I've seen bike riders come from the north, go down the exercise court, do the 7-minute, 7-station routine, leave, head back north. Same thing with someone from Carlin area or south of Fireplace Inn, run in, jog in, whatever you, I don't want to say jog, but they run, go there, do the 7-station, 7-minute, run back south. Then you have families that were waiting for us to get off the court one time so they could go through the routine. So it's being used to a point where we're wearing off the white dots on the court, which we talked with Keegan today.
National Fitness. Board.
Yeah, I'm saying, hey, we got an issue. So they're gonna try to address our issue in that regards. That's the only discussion I had. Anything else? Pat?
For pickleball, you have to make reservations.
Just
Yes, no, just show up if there's a court. Play.
And is there a time limit where you have to, like an hour, and you have to give up the court, or do we have any rules?
Well, we ask that if there is a waiting list, if people are out there waiting to play on the courts, we've got 4 courts, which would accommodate 16 players, so number 17 and 18 is there. We ask that you finish the game, exit, so the new people can come in.
It hasn't been super busy where people have had to do that, but
No.
we've
We've
had
had,
some people down there that have been on there for a couple hours.
we've had max of 16 at a time.
Your cameras covered?
Part of it.
No. Well, we can see part of it if we zoom in real
Work
close.
really hard at it, yes.
You know, as far as we can see an outline of people on the court.
It depends on who.
Yeah,
Somebody's made a good hobby of.
yeah. Soccer.
But we have talked about the possibility of maybe adding another camera down there for the pickleball and the fitness area.
Possibility to do it. So who's gonna peel out on it and tear it up and you're gonna.
The other
Yeah.
thing right now I'm working with, Chief Case on, I'd like to, at some point in the near future, get an AED down there now that our park is getting so busy. I think it's a good idea, with as busy as our crew is, they can't always get there. So,
Yeah, so on the cameras, yes, we looked into them, we've got quotes. And I went, no, John. So I'm letting them stew a little bit before I go and say, did you sharpen your pencil?
and we had a pickleball meeting today, and, the pickleball group has the money, so it looks like they're gonna probably pay for the camera for the pickleball.
At least pitch in a portion that would be that particular one.
Then I want an armed drone. Armed pepper sprayers.
And that can be decided at-
You can send them from here, you just.
Target man.
Side by side.
Easy, no. Andy,
We were doing so good.
any other discussion?
I do have one other thing.
Yes, sir.
Sherry had brought up, in the reports from my office, in the clerk's office, there was an NSF, non-sufficient funds. We're using cash management now. We're in the process of getting all of our funds over to that. I had $3 million sitting in a bank account. That makes me nervous. That's a tax fund account. I'm the only one responsible for that. If something happens to Huntington Bank, I lose $3 million, I probably go to prison. Or bad things happen to me. So I work with Huntington Bank. So I transfer all that money into a liquidity portal. We get about 5.24% on that money right now compared to the 0.04 we were getting before. And if there's a non-sufficient funds or the checks don't clear, I get a phone call from one of the people over at Huntington Bank who watch our accounts for us. And we've got 24 hours to get that funds into the account, and any of the NSFs get waived away. Now that you point, I found that was under the check register when you pointed out, it was through the tax account. And that's what that was that's one of the accounts that are on that liquidity portal. So that $3 million gets shifted out, because only the FDIC only covers $250,000.
Right.
So that's what that was. It was the money, I had the money planned to go out on Monday. I thought that's when they would clear. They didn't clear on Monday. They came through on Friday. So I came into the office, logged on, transferred the money. They waived that, they offset those fees.
Okay,
If we don't get the money transferred over, then we pay the NSF.
right. That's just something I didn't want to see on our reports and wondered why it was happening.
Yeah, but any of the accounts that have NSF, the general fund, village roads, trying to get a little bit more interest on there. Anytime we can make a little bit extra revenue or generate some additional income for the township, that means that we've got the money we might not have to look for taxes.
And with that, rung the bell because of the heat. We fired up our furnace Sunday afternoon. HVAC system on the roof at the office. It just so happens I was asked for some guesstimates for replacement for the heating system and HVAC system up there. It was acting kind of funny. Same thing Monday, it was acting a little funny. Because it's old. I mean, there's no more parts. We have to have it engineered or have a machinist make parts if it goes south on us. So I am making a request. Mary Jo has done an RFP draft today. So I did get a quote to replace them sooner than later. But I'm trying to waylay that, make sure we get at least 3 bids, et cetera, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to have time to get 3 bids with that stop unit at least. So I just wanted to bring the board attention that I'm going to attempt to get 3 bids and get it done. But in the event, I'll be an emergency purchase. That's it.
Where, did Roy get most of the leaks out of the roof for you?
At this point, so far, we've had several companies up there and they've taken care of some of the stuff for us. And the walls are being built in the bays to separate the election area. Process there, the walls are up. So we're crossing our fingers. Anything else? Any correspondence?
Fitness court. If anybody wants to know how you work the fitness court, we do have a video on our website that you can go to, and it'll walk you through each of the steps. or there's a scan that you can use your phone and it'll kind of walk you through there too. We did have our audit last week. Everything went very well. Trent is going to get copies to us probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but he's not going to do the presentation until December. But I figured that I'll get them to you as soon as we can, so you can review them if you have questions, and then when he comes to the December board meeting, then you can ask him the questions.
Because he's gonna be out of town November 14th. Sure if anybody here realizes what days after the 14th. We
My
have our
sister's
board
birthday.
meeting on that 14th. So I'll be here.
Not happy, but you'll be.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah. So with that, but the audit preliminary, Brent says, again, he was impressed that we've done so well. With that, no more correspondence. Public comment. I thought I saw a young lady back there. Yes, please, if you would. Same rules apply. Nice try, though.
Not everybody listening in is necessarily in this room. That's why we got them folks over yonder.
Donna Ross, 8790 Crestwood Trail, Traverse City. I just had a quick question about the open treatments that you had mentioned. Upon approval of going with that, will you put like notifications, say like at Tom's as an example, or the party store, or the park? You know, where people could find those? I mean, I know you said you'd put it like on the website or things of that nature, but would that be other locations in this area that they could post that so people would know?
The location of, yes, and we have a newsletter coming out. And we'll ask the Deerians and the Olsons if they would be kind enough to place something up.
Yeah,
Alternative Health also.
yeah, I think that would, you know, any of the businesses around here, I think would benefit from it.
Yes,
So, okay, that's all.
very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing, oh. I'll slow down on my speech. Yes, sir?
Greg Caskey Senior, 11717 US 31 Interlochen. I just want to echo about the ordinance that you're considering. Having been a code enforcement officer, I haven't read through it all yet, but what I've heard and seen, it's homeowners association. It's not a township rules. There are some that you could pick and choose in there maybe, but the way that one is, has no business being in our township. Thank you.
Very good. The nuisance ordinance, yeah. With that being said, any other public comment? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at 6:32 PM.
Second.
Moved by Radke, supported by Biondo to adjourn the meeting at 6:32 PM. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Yes, Andy.
No.
We could get.
Meeting adjourned.